to start off the webinar by introducing our speaker. Dr. Charlene Green serves as an Assistant Dean of Admissions, Outreach, and Diversity at UC Davis School of Medicine, overseeing respective aspects of programmatic and administrative matters related to admissions, pathway programs, student resident diversity initiatives. She leads the community of practice efforts for UC Davis's National Center for a Diverse Healthcare Workforce, facilitating forums and ensuring that stakeholders and community partners achieve success in creating and implementing institutional action plans toward a diverse and inclusive learning environment. Dr. Green is the principal investigator for grants supporting the Avenue M California Medicine Scholars Program, the California Postbaccalaureate Consortium, and the He-Wewatuck Tribal Health Postbaccalaureate Program. Thank you, and you may take the floor, Dr. Green.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be back with you all. I love to come talk to all of the scholars out there with PreMedCC. So we're just going to jump off and I'm going to start sharing my slides. We're going to go through the slides, and then I would just really love to answer all the questions you all have. Okay, so let's talk about the road from community college or wherever you are in the process to the white coat. Particularly, we're going to talk about some facets of UC Davis. I am on many national work groups with the AAMC, the AMA, so also happy to answer questions about admissions in general. As mentioned, Assistant Dean over admissions. I deal with all of the policies, help to make sure our process is equitable for all of our applicants, get to do research. And fun fact, I am also a part-time faculty member at our local community college here. I do counseling at Consumers River College, and I actually teach in psychology department at Sac City College. So anybody from the Los Rios School District, special shout out to you all. So I always start my presentations by first saying everyone's journey is different. There's no one way to get to medicine or healthcare. Everyone's journey is different. So be your own timeline and on your own path. Don't worry about what other people are doing, your peers are doing. You should apply to medical school when you're ready to apply to medical school. When you have the best application for yourself that you can put forward, that's when it's time. Also, I always like to share that I am a community college grad. I am a graduate of American River College within the Los Rios Community College District here in Sacramento, California. So I went to American River College, and then I got my bachelor's degree from Sac State. I got my master's degree from University of San Francisco and my doctorate from Touro University. So I am just a local kid here, and they let me run a medical school. So if I can do big things, each and every one of you can too. So let's talk about what this road looks and feels like. So no surprise to any of you, medicine is a long game and it will take a while, and that is okay. It's important to do well and make sure you're gaining and retaining knowledge rather than just finishing fast, because you're going to the content is going to keep getting more difficult. So if you are in community college, it's not uncommon, again, as a community college counselor, it's not uncommon for STEM majors to spend more than 2 years at community college. Thinking about the math you have to do, chemistry is 4 semesters already. So it's a minimum typically of 2 years, but typically it's a little more, and that's okay. While you're at the community college level, take advantage of some of the things community colleges have to offer, like the smaller classroom size, access to various support entities and scholarships that are more impacted at the university level. So like counseling, wellness, get your therapy, get all of your counseling in. It is something that is included in your tuition and provided to you. And it's actually going to help you build strong coping skills as you get ready to go on to your 4-year college and to medical school. When you enter more rigor, you're already going to have those great habits down for wellness. Also, other programs like EOPS, Umoja, MESA, tutoring, all of those things are readily available at the community college and less impacted than at the 4-year. And oftentimes when you're in these programs at the community college, then you'll have a nice transition and be connected with resources at your 4-year a little bit more easier. A longer stint in community college means that you'll be paying less money once you do transfer, right? Because you're accomplishing as much as you can at the community college level, right? So you're paying for less coursework at a 4-year university. So here's just a snapshot. And again, this is an emphasis on example of some math and science courses needed to transfer in certain STEM paths. So I just highlighted like engineering, computer science, and obviously medicine and vet med, just to show you that this is what it looks like. Like it could be 7 semesters or more, depending on, again, where did you start in math. So again, don't be in a rush. Make sure you understand the content and make sure you are doing a good job and getting tutoring, accessing time with your professors and office hours, making sure that you really understand the content before moving on to the next level. Because as you can imagine, there's a lot of content knowledge needed, particularly for like general chemistry, and then you have to get all the way to OChem 2, right? Organic chemistry 2. So again, you're going to need to make sure you understand those things so you can continue to apply them at higher level coursework. If you take nothing else away from this presentation, do not do this alone. This journey is long. This journey is hard. You know how they say it takes a village to raise a child? Same thing to build a doctor. So there are people paid to help you do this. So make sure you're tapping into your advisors and counselors to make sure you're on the right education track. You don't necessarily have to get an associate's degree, but most STEM students end up with one anyway at the community college level because of all the coursework they're taking. Most major transfer recs will be similar with a few differences here and there. So make sure you're meeting with counselors so you know what those differences are, right? Some schools may want you to take OChem at their campus, their four-year campus, and not at the community college level, while other schools want you to have OChem completed. Some schools, physics is optional before you transfer. So you really want to make sure you're meeting with people who help people transfer, know what it takes to get into medical school to make sure your plan works for you and is going towards your goal. As a counselor, I get a lot of pre-med students who come in and they're like enrolled in statistics, and that's not the right class. That is not the right class for medical school. You need to be on the calc series. So simple things like that could really waste your time, and you want to make sure that everything you're doing is counting towards this already very long journey. You don't want to make it longer. By at least your third semester, try to start researching and narrowing your top schools that you want to transfer to. So at least 2 to 5. And then you want to make sure that you complete their necessary requirements, again, by working with a counselor. Assist.org is also a really great tool to help you kind of explore like what majors are out there and what are the different requirements for majors. And then the general education, make sure you're on the right track. Now they've merged the CSU breath and the IGETC breath into one transfer pattern for California schools called CalGETCs. So this will help you transfer from a general ed perspective to 23 CSU schools, 10 UC schools, in-state, out-of-state, and public schools, including HBCUs. So I get this question a lot from students interested in medicine. What should you major in? So the answer is you should major in what interests you the most, or depending on like what does your life look like in college, right? So for instance, we do have a lot of English, philosophy, and history majors that have been accepted. But yes, many students are science majors, chem or bio, neuro, things like that, or biomedical even, due to the types of prereqs you have to take for medical school. But as long as you complete your prereqs, which for us is year bio, year of Gen Chem, year of organic chemistry or biochemistry, and a year of physics. As long as you complete those, it really doesn't matter what your major is. But a lot of times a science-based major will help you build that foundation for the prereqs, but also for the MCAT exam. It also contributes a lot to your BCPM, your bio, chem, physics, and math GPA. So this little table from the side comes from AAMC. That's the AMCAS classification. So if you're wondering what courses are going to go into this specific major called this specific GPA calculation called BCPM, these are the subject areas under biology, chem, physics, and math that will be incorporated into that GPA. And just a side note, when you do apply to medical school, you will have to put all attempted courses on your application, and they factor that into your GPA. So if you failed a class and repeat it, you'll have to put both the F and whatever grade that you got when you repeat it, and both are incorporated into your GPA. Also, if you got a W, you will have to list that too. Now that won't count against your GPA, but we're going to be looking at patterns, right? So a couple W's is totally fine. It's totally fine. Or you had a semester where things happen and you had to drop classes, but what we don't want to see is repeated patterns of withdrawing from courses. So what should you be focusing on now? So number one, I mentioned this, honing that in, build knowledge foundation. So you need to understand the concepts of the subjects you're studying, particularly in science. You need to practice. Math and science skills, they have to be practiced, right? When you're doing chem, it's not something you can just read and get. It's like you have to practice to apply it. In a general sense, study skills. So you're going to have a rigorous academic load, especially if you're transferring to a 4-year as a science major. You're going to be taking mostly science classes, and that's going to be hard your junior and senior year. So you want to make sure that you are training yourself to handle an academic rigorous load, and that includes rest, wellness, and coping as well, as we talked about. So make sure you have good study skills so that you're able to wake up, have energy, retain the information, and be able to apply it because that's going to be really important. So, and then that leads to the last thing, learning for application. All of the things you're going to learn in undergrad, a lot of that is going to carry over into medical school, particularly your first year. So you want to make sure you really are retaining that information so you can do well in both the MCAT as well as your first year of medical school. This is just a slide of so many resources that I have worked with, partners that I've worked with. Applying to medical school is like learning another language. So think about being a pre-med applicant as like you're doing Duolingo or Rosetta Stone or something like that. You really need to understand the language involved with being a future physician and a pre-medical student. So here's tons of resources, including PreMedCC. It's great. I just tell my prospective applicants, just go on and just play those YouTubes in the background while you're showering, while you're walking the dog. It's really great the more you hear language from admissions deans, from other physicians, from medical students, the more it's going to become a second nature for you to speak that language. So by the time you get to your interview, you're going to be talking very connectedly with your interviewer about health disparities, about clinical environment, about emotional intelligence, etc. Okay, so make sure you get connected with resources that are going to be feeding you information, almost like, your social media, right? If you get your social media algorithm right, it's going to feed you things that hopefully are positive, right? Because not all content out there is good content. So make sure you're filtering out the bad content, but the helpful content, make sure that's kind of on your feed. So here's just a little snapshot of what you can do before and after transfer. So number one, make sure you work with an advisor to understand your academic record and plan your timeline for your application. So about by your junior year, or maybe even the summer before your junior year, you should really start thinking about what's the plan? Like, what is the plan for me to apply to medical school? Am I going to do it right out of undergrad? Am I going to take a few enrichment years or gap years, people call them, and do some, experiences, do some clinical work or some research? So really start to think about what does the application cycle look like for you and when that might be, because it's like a year-long process. Definitely doing extracurricular activities. I always say while you're at community college, it's totally fine to do extracurriculars, but it's definitely also fine to just focus on your academic foundation. And then post-transfer to a 4-year, then you can kind of work on, finding shadowing and research opportunities, getting in free clinics or student-run clinics. And then also, if you are an athlete, if you're a college athlete, that's an instance where sometimes I'll have college athletes or people who are doing very intense extracurricular activities. Maybe they're not going to be a science major because they don't want to have those negative grades. They'll do something else that they really enjoy, like history or sociology, and then do their prereqs after graduation or in their senior year because they don't want to have those negative grades. And then getting opportunities. So make sure you're checking out pre-health conferences, connect with your instructors, make it known to people that you are a pre-med or a pre-health student. Let them know, like, hey, to your bio teacher, I'm really thinking about going into healthcare. If you hear of any scholarships or opportunities, please let me know. So that way, when someone does tell them or something comes across our desk, they'll immediately think of you like, I have the perfect student who's really interested in doing cell bio research with you or doing clinical shadowing with you. And then make sure you find mentors and build a support network. So although that list of resources I put on there, make sure you're tapping into those to see where you can meet people, find mentors, and just hear from people who are in the field and adjacent to the field. Look for summer opportunities to do research, enrichment, and pathway programs. So typically people miss the window when they're thinking about summer opportunities because they think about them too late. April and May is too late to start thinking about what are you going to do in the summer. A lot of times applications for any summer activities, research, internships, things like that, that application period is actually typically November to February. So that's when you want to be checking and planning for the following summer. So make sure you're not checking those things too late.
Just making a plug, we have like 3 sessions until December that's going to be talking about summer programs, summer research, and HCC and a bunch of other things. So check those out. And
Yes.
please don't email us in June saying that, oh, you missed the deadline, what
Too
programs
late.
are available. We don't have any power to open up programs in June. Sorry.
And June's too late, as I said. So November through February is a time when you should be really thinking about what am I going to do this summer? And that also helps you plan because then you'll know by March if you have an opportunity or should you get a job or what should you do, right? So definitely plan ahead so you can make sure you're getting those robust activities on your resume and ready for your application. So here's just a few myth busters I always like to bring up. The first one, you should take science intense course load in community college to prove you can handle harder material. That is false. Again, I'd rather you go slower and do well in community college level because you're going to have that intense science course load post transfer. Second myth buster, community college requirements do not count for medical school admissions. Completely false. So we have students that graduate from a 4-year and go back to community college rather than a college of continuing education or a private institution or a post-bac program to do just their prerequisites. We're looking at you holistically. So we're just, can you handle the academic rigor of medical school? So we're gonna look at your grades in your science courses and math courses. We're gonna look at your MCAT and we're just gonna assess from there. So it's totally fine to do any prerequisites before transfer, even post-transfer at the community college. They will count for every single medical school. Staying longer than 2 years at a community college is not looked upon favorably. That is also completely false. Again, we're looking towards post-transfer, like how was your course load, how science intense was it, and then how did you do? What were your grade trends? Did they trend up? Did they trend down? Were they all over the place? We really want to make sure that we understand what your actual grades look like and what they tell us about how ready for medical school you are. Medical schools do not accept students that started at community college. Also completely false. That is completely untrue. We definitely do accept students who went to community college. And oftentimes at UC Davis, we're looking for those students because we're actually looking for students who want to serve their local community. So we actually go intentionally to recruit at the community college. I'm going to talk a little bit about one of the programs that I lead, Avenue M, with my team, but we're really looking for students who actually are connected to their community and care and want to stay and serve in those communities. So it's actually a favorable thing in our process. Getting a C in a core science prerequisite course automatically disqualifies you from medical school admissions. Again, false. You do need to do your best. You do need to get grades. 1 or 2 C's or a couple of C's is not going to put you out of the running for medical school. Again, you're trying to show academic rigor. So maybe you got C's, but then you got the help you needed with tutoring and support, and now your grade trends are moving up. Okay. Taking the MCAT to see how you do is a good way to figure out what you need to work on. If you've ever heard me speak on any webinars before, I always say, don't take the MCAT for funsies. Please do not do that. Do not take the MCAT to see where you are in the process and how much you need to study. There are practice tests for that. Medical schools see every single attempt of your MCAT, okay? So you want to make those count, right? And also, it's an expensive test, and it's a really long test, and you actually don't want to put yourself through that more than once or twice. It's really long and really hard. So make sure you are taking the MCAT when you're ready to take the MCAT, and you showcase that by, again, taking those practice tests and seeing what you score. You have to graduate from a UC school to be admitted to a UC medical school. Again, very false. Our pool is saturated with UC students because many UC schools were built as STEM schools, whereas CSU schools actually were built as liberal studies colleges meant to build more teachers. Well, now that has changed. There are more science programs at CSU schools. And so we definitely we actually do intentional recruitment at CSU schools, as well as UC schools, private schools. And really, we're looking for Californians, to be honest with you. So it really doesn't matter which undergraduate college you end up going to or transferring to. We're looking for applicants who want to serve California patient populations. You need to be a science major to go to medical school. We already talked about that. Not true. You just need to have the prereqs completed. You should do other health profession programs and careers to get experience for medical school. So this could be true or false. So I have a lot of community college students who do scribe work. They've been a medical assistant before, a CNA. That's, again, totally fine. What I would say is don't take a gap. If you're already on the road to medical school, don't take a gap to pivot to another vocational program, because then it'll actually just take you longer because they're actually very different. So like stuff for nursing and things like that, like the bio is different than it is for like transfer to as a bio major to a 4-year. So again, make sure you're meeting with a counselor and just bouncing ideas off of a counselor or an advisor on this is what I'm thinking about doing. And I thought about also pivoting and doing this. Another good one is like EMT. That's typically like 1 semester, depending on the school of coursework. And that can help you get some direct patient care hours. So again, as Jovan mentioned, there's going to be other webinars talking about opportunities you can take advantage of, but make sure you just don't pivot too far off of the pre-medical coursework track because it's already pretty long process. So let's talk about how we do things at UC Davis School of Medicine. We practice socially accountable admissions, which means that we are really looking for, as an institution, ways that we can address the healthcare workforce needs of our region and our state of California. So we do that by, again, selecting students from the communities with the greatest needs, right? Because they're the ones most likely to go back. We connect with programs, federally qualified health centers, community health centers, and work with them to partner to build curriculum, to build clinical opportunities, so that way we can stay within those communities. So this image is actually the 95817 is the zip code of Sacramento, California, the community of Oak Park, where our medical school sits, and our hospital, our health center. 95616 is the town of Davis, where the university sits, the large campus, the main campus sits for Davis. So as you can see, there is a life expectancy of 10 years difference, and we're just 17 minutes away. So we're really interested in students who want to solve problems like this. So we mentioned, do medical schools want students from community college? Not only are we thinking about it, but there's research on this. One of my colleagues and friends, Dr. Tyler Montes, led this paper when he was at UC Davis School of Medicine with Dr. Durant, Henderson, Griffin, Fancher, and others to really look at where students from community college are going. And again, they're showcasing that they are going to help communities of need. And so those are the doctors that we need in places where there are physician shortage, places where there are underserved communities. So things to start thinking about now, no matter where you're at in the process, is definitely build your network, stay connected with people, because these might be the people who are going to give you those future letters of recommendation. So you want to stay connected. So you should be saying, hey, Professor so-and-so, my semester was great. I'm still on track to be pre-med. Hope your holiday was well. Maybe we can have coffee in the spring. Hope your dog's doing good. You want to make sure they're remembering who you are. So by the time they write that letter, I have known so-and-so to be on the pre-med journey for 5 years now. They have been committed. They have been dedicated. You want them to be able to say that you have been longstanding a dedicated pre-medical student. Keep documentation of all of your activities for your applications. So that's scholarships, programs that you're accepted to, research that you do, clinical work, volunteer work, food pantry work, whatever you do, keep a spreadsheet or a Google Doc of when you did it, what it was, a contact person, a few bullet points about what you did, because it's going to be really hard to remember all that you did once it's time to actually put your application in. And you don't have to put everything in there, but it's going to be hard to remember what you did way back when. So it's better to have more and take things out than have to try to jog your memory. The application process is stressful enough, so make it as easy on yourself as you can. When it gets to that application time, you're going to make sure your whole application tells a story, because we don't want to guess who you are. If you had a challenge in school that made you withdraw from your classes for a semester, then just tell us that. So we're not guessing what happened or thinking you're flaky. Just say, I had an illness in my family. I had a death in my family. I had surgery. I broke my leg. Whatever it is, just tell us so then we can move on and then start looking at some other wonderful things about you. You want to be authentic and vulnerable, because the best part of your story is you. I'm really stressing this, be authentic and vulnerable these days, because I read a lot of applications and I've seen nothing but I've seen more than just AI, but I've seen a lot of AI this year, and it's a little boring to read, to be honest with you. So I read a lot of applications. I can tell pretty quickly if it's not authentic and it's not true to you, if it's AI generated. So make sure that you're actually being honest and transparent, and you're using real life experiences, because if you don't have the real life experiences that are going to make your application good, then you probably need to go get some. We don't want you just doing things to check a box. We want you gaining experience so you develop emotional intelligence, and so you develop professionally as a future clinician. And it takes time to do that. So we want you actively in those activities, not just to make your application look good. And lastly, as I mentioned, if you take nothing else, don't do this process by yourself. You need to have people who review applications, look at your entire package, because you might be thinking, this is really great stuff, but you know what? You're oversharing in this part. Or, you know what, can you talk about this tragedy in an interview without crying, without getting choked up because it's very personal to you? Those are real questions. So you need to make sure you're working with people who help people get into medical school because they know what a good application looks like, and they know what an application with improvement looks like, that needs improvement looks like. So this is just, again, general overview of the application process. The primary application is for all medical schools. You'll fill out your basic information, including your letters of rec, your activities, and your personal statement. Your secondary, so some schools send a secondary to everyone. Some schools send a secondaries to select students. That's going to tell you more. You're going to tell the school more about you, but it's also going to have some short essays that are specific to that school that you'll have to complete. Then if you move forward, you'll move to an interview. So we do MMIs, multiple mini interviews, kind of like speed dating and reality TV. And other schools do what's called traditional interviews, where maybe you'll have like a faculty member and a medical student or a panel interview. And it'll be for, you know, whatever, 1 hour, an hour and a half, something like that. And then after your interview, those comments and notes and your whole application is routed to the final decision committee typically, and they make the decision on whether you'll be accepted, waitlisted, or rejected. So here are our pre-medical requirements for UC Davis School of Medicine: MCAT within 3 years, a bachelor's degree in anything, and again, that year of bio, year of gen chem, year of OChem, and year of physics. This is always something I tell students to kind of just take a personal note as you're doing activities. One of the most important questions that you're going to ask, that you're going to answer in your personal statement, is why medicine. If we read your personal statement and we don't know why medicine by the end, you're probably not going to move too far in the process. So this is why we call the personal statement starter pack. And so again, this is just to get you started. If you're not doing at least 7 to 10 drafts of your personal statement, you're probably not doing it right. So this is like to get words on the paper to give you a starting point. So number one, when did you know you wanted to do medicine? So since you were 4, your family had a really good experience. You're in healthcare, your family had a really bad experience. Like what really triggered you saying, I really think medicine could be for me? Your love of science. The second thing is, what have you done within your scope as a pre-med to foster and grow this passion? So that's clinical work, research, working with certain communities or populations that you really have a passion for. Talk about that. And lastly, what are you going to do with medicine? That's pretty much the personal statement starter pack, to just get words on the paper and then start from there. Now I'm going to dive into one of our programs specifically for community college students, Avenue M. This program is meant to focus on anyone at the community college level, so first year, transfer year, and we want to basically support you who are thinking about being a physician, so you don't have to like decide physician for sure and sign a contract. It's like, you know, I'm thinking about this as a pathway. There's a lot of other allied health and like nursing programs within community college, but there really isn't a direct pathway for medicine. So this program really focuses on people who have different lenses and come from different parts of California. We want to help eliminate barriers and support you and provide mentorship. And we also want to help you transfer. And hopefully you'll transfer to one of our 3 partner 4-year institutions, UC Davis, Sac State, or Cal Poly Humboldt. It's not required, but to continue on as an Avenue M student, you would have to transfer to one of those 3. But in the first 2 years, you still get quite a bit of resources. So you would first fill out our interest form, but actually the application is currently open now till November 15th for our cohort 4. We already have 150 students. So we recruit 50 students every year. Once you matriculate, you will join a cohort. There'll be monthly meetings that you are required to go to at least once per semester. Then we also have enrichment workshops, which are things about the application, professional development, emotional intelligence, coping in the medical field, things like that. In your transfer year, we will pay up to $4,000 for a internship, and we will help you find an internship. And some students do get their own internships, but you kind of have to have something in that summer to kind of meet that milestone. And then post-transfer, if you end up at one of our partner schools, again, Cal Poly Humboldt, Sacramento State University, or UC Davis, we will support you with application support. We have a full-time writing specialist, and we will also support you with MCAT prep, which can be very expensive. So you get MCAT prep, and if you need any type of testing for accommodations, we support that as well. Then hopefully you will be applying to medical school, and hopefully you'll come to Davis, but we really want you just to get to medicine. That is our goal. And then to serve a underserved area in California. So here's the eligibility for Avenue M, at least a 3.0. If you have pending, like it's your first semester in community college and you have pending grades, then you will get a conditional admissions. And then early January, when your grades post, is when you'll get your full admissions if you meet that 3.0. But you do need to be at least enrolled or have completed 12 units of community college coursework at one of our partner schools. And then you have to have a completed student education plan comprehensive from your counselor. So we want to see what's your plan for till you transfer, and you should work with your local community college counselor to create that plan. So again, our application is currently open. It closes on November 15th. If you are a student who is not in a northern region community college, here are the other hubs that were funded for this type of program. So UCSF School of Medicine in Fresno, these are their partner schools. And they are focused on the Central Valley. UC Riverside is focused on the Inland Empire. These are their partner schools. And then here are the partner schools of UC San Diego. And if you want more information, check out the California Medicine Scholars Program.org website, and they'll have all of our program information on there. They're going to be expanding the California Medicine Scholars Hub to either the LA community or the Bay Area community. So our projects, the four of us, San Diego, UCSF Fresno, UC Riverside, we were the first pilot schools, and now we're hoping to expand that again to get more community college into that medicine pathway. I also lead our pathways programs at UC Davis School of Medicine. So here are a bunch if you know someone. If you just literally go to UC Davis School of Medicine and type in medicine pathways, all of these will pop up. Our health equity program is for high school students. If you have any of you are in high school, if you have siblings interested, we have our MIS-PEP program, Medical School Preparatory Enhancement, and those are specifically for people in the Sacramento region. So if you're at UC Davis, Sac State, or you're a CSU graduate who moved back to Sacramento region, then you'd be eligible for that program. We lead the Post-Bac Consortium. So there's lots of information on our 6 consortium partners and the Post-Bac programs that we collectively have one application for that is completely free to applicants. And then we also do virtual tours and outreach events, which those things are available on our website too, which I'm happy to post that at the end. But we put on our calendar where we'll be. So if you want to come connect with us in person, we have what health fairs we're going to. And also we do virtual tours, typically 3 to 5 times per year. So those are my slides. Here are some helpful links that you might find interesting, our Avenue M information, as well as our admissions office. And then my information is there too. I do pre-med advising on Mondays and Fridays for special circumstances. So if you have a really unique situation that you kind of need some advisement on, happy to help. I have a link that people can book on, but please only use it sparingly, because I do have 8,000 applications every year, over 8,000. So make sure you're using it when you really need it. Okay. So I'm going to stop there, and I'll throw some links in the chat as well. And then, yeah, definitely, if you all have questions, happy to answer.
So this is one that hopefully we could address it right away. People are saying, I've taken, 10 units, 5 units. When should I apply for Avenue M? And what would your answer that? I'm a first year, I just started, I'm a second year, I'm a third year, all of these questions about Avenue M. So
yeah. So when you should apply to Avenue M, when the application's open, that's number one. And also when you have at least 12 units completed or pending. So you can have in a semester, so let's say you just started, like you're right out of high school, or you're just starting your community college journey, and you have basically 12 units as a full-time load. So you have to have at least 12 units pending or completed. So you can be a part-time student, but you have to have completed at least 12 units at the time of application.
yeah, and people are asking like different the list of colleges are on the website. And so
Yeah, I'll put that in the chat. Oh, I don't think I have access to the chat, which is why I didn't put it in there yet.
no, I already put it in there.
Perfect.
You have
Thank you.
access to the chat.
Yes, check out the website, and it has our community college partners.
Yeah, I don't know. Like some people are asking, I don't know. I didn't memorize them all. Do you want to ask some of the questions?
Yeah, I can. The first one that I see, they're asking what your opinion is on update letters and whether there's like a best time to send them. And then they followed up with the second question was one major do and don't.
One major do and don't for the application?
I guess it's very generalized. Maybe it's for update letters. It doesn't say directly.
Okay, so for update letters, just reach out to the school and ask them first, do they accept update letters? Because UC Davis School Medicine actually does not accept update letters, but some schools do. Some schools really want to know that you're interested. We do a lot of our selection by algorithm based on scoring. So basically, by the time you get an actual acceptance and matriculate to our school, no less than 30 people have interacted with your application. And so we use a lot of like ordering based on those evaluations, where some schools, they want to know you're really interested, like if you're on the wait list or something like that, they want an update to see like, have you done something to improve your application? So just reach out to the school. We're really used to a lot of applicants reaching out to all of us. Medical schools get tons and tons of applicants. So the best way is to just have number one, an email to the school to ask like, hey, do you take update letters and when do you take those? When is it acceptable? Is it after interview, et cetera? So every school is different on how they accept those. Do's and don'ts. Well, obviously right now, like I said, AI is making my life pretty boring because I have to read a lot of applications that virtually sound the same. So please don't do that. It's a don't for me. And if y'all have heard me talk before, personal pet peeve, maybe some people love it, but it's starting your personal statement with sounds like boom, crash, the ambulance did this. Like it's weird. I don't like it. And I also have noticed a lot of applicants doing what I call, there's probably a more professional term for this, but I call it selling a tragedy, where it's like all these horrible things happened and you're writing about it because you want us to understand like kind of what you've been through, which that is important, but then they waste that important real estate on all of the tragic things that have happened, but not why medicine. So I'm really sad, but I don't understand exactly why you want to go into medicine. A couple of do's is be your authentic self, do work with people who help people get into medical school. And it's quality over quantity. Don't just fill up 15 activities because that's what there's space for, because people have to read those. And I get a little irritated sometimes when I see people putting like, oh, hobbies, sleeping, stretching, or whatever. Like put things that are meaningful in there. Someone has to read those things. So if stretching has truly led you to medicine, then put that and put something meaningful, but don't just put space fillers. Put things that are meaningful in there.
Thank you. Another question we have is how can I get research? How could I get a research position without any prior experience in research?
Yeah, I would say start with your professor, number one, and then start with pathway programs because they're a good way to do like smaller research projects so you can get those on your resume and be able to be competitive for bigger research projects. And I'm sure there's lots of other things too, but I would say start with your professor, your school. You kind of have to like get in and know somebody or be in a program to kind of get that first access.
Yeah, there's a lot of research programs, even though some of them the funding has been cut, but there's still some other ones, and there's ones that are specific for community college students. We've had them come and speak here, so you got to go back and watch the previous videos. We're gonna have a couple more in the fall, and then we post a lot of them on our social media. So, you know, we post them on our Instagram, and also we send out stuff on our listserv, but not as much, just because we don't want to send out 300 emails a week. Um, so we try to keep people there. So there's plenty of opportunities. You just have to, apply for them. And also, summer programs are great, and programs like Avenue M are also great. So, all you guys are asking us these questions. How many hours of research will I get in Avenue M? My answer to that would be plenty.
It's definitely a starter. You do a group research project that you present actually by the end of the program. And again, sometimes for some students, they've done research, and so for some students, it's their first time ever doing research. And that's the other part of Avenue M. In your transfer summer, we help you get an internship, and there are more research opportunities available than clinical opportunities, which is great, but kind of not great when you need clinical. And so we actually connect you with programs as well that can help you if you've never done research before, kind of help you start that path.
Thank you. Another question we have is what should students be doing right now or soon during their gap year application year?
Well, we kind of looked at like what should you be doing right now. So that is number one, making it known you're a pre-med student. Like you have to tell people so they can connect you with opportunities. So one of the first things I do in many of my pathway programs is a session about professional narrative, which some people call an elevator speech. Like how do you introduce yourself to people, especially if you're shy or introverted, but how do you kind of like summarize who you are to someone so they can understand and connect you with opportunities and relate to them, right? So that's one of the first things I do. So creating a elevator pitch or professional narrative for yourself is very important. yeah, I would say start there and then try to get opportunities from there. Even if you're lucky enough to have a primary care physician, tell your physician, I am pre-med or I am pre-health. If any opportunities come your way, you know of any programs, please let me know. So just making yourself known.
Thank you. Another question we have is this person says, I have a D in calculus. Would this make me less considered as a qualified applicant for UC Davis?
So again, we're looking overall at your grade trends, your trajectory. So you definitely don't want a lot of D's on your transcript, but let's say you continued on and is it Calc 1 and then like you did good in Calc 2. So again, holistically, you need to understand what does your academic record say to schools. And so you kind of don't know that until you have the package, but definitely always do your best. And you can always repeat it. A D, you can repeat, yes.
Thank you. Another question. What are some extracurricular activities and or experiences would you recommend us to do in order for us and our application to stand out?
Things
Bring world peace.
well, that Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah.
Things that are true to yourself.
That is a joke. Please, like,
Yes.
don't
Don't go try to bring world peace or win the Nobel Peace Prize. It's pretty hard to do. So things that would make you stand out are things that are true to yourself. So think about the things that you would want in a physician, right? You would want someone who is knowledgeable, has ethics, has leadership skills. So do the things that bring you those skills, in addition to, of course, clinical care and patient care and research. But you want to make sure you're doing things that are going to help you develop as a human being, as a person. Being service oriented, caring about the greater good. Is there a particular community that you're passionate about? So you want to do things that's going to hone in your interests. When you're passionate, I always say, this is what I tell all my mentees, when you're passionate about something, you'll always get paid. When you're passionate about something, people will always seek you out for your talent and your passion. Your job is to get good at it. Your job is to understand why it's your passion. And your job is to make sure that even when days are hard, you still love it. And you're not going to love something if it's not your passion. So you better make sure you really love it if you're going to go through this really hard journey, basically.
A follow-up question to that from the same person is, what is the likelihood of someone with more academic experience than life experience getting into medical school? And then vice versa.
Getting into medical school, period. I think medical school is just competitive. So in a general sense, and there are stats on like MSAR and AAMC, but in a general sense, getting into medical school, yes, if you're strong academically, but yes, you do need to have a well-rounded application. 3 out of every 4 California applicants actually end up going out of state because there's just not enough spots. There's only like roughly 1,500 spots for first years every year here in California. So I think it's just a really competitive process, but that's why you want to have a good application. And just having academics is not going to showcase your other pre-professional competencies. So you might get in, but you also might not be ready for it. So you really want to make sure that you are understanding what the clinical environment is like. Like it's a hard job. You're going to like see people pass away. You're going to have to give bad news to families. You're going to have to comfort families after they lose someone. So you do want to make sure you understand what this environment is like, and that's why we want the experiences. It's not to check a box. It's for you to understand what this profession is like before you spend a lot of time and money.
Thank you. Another question we have. This person says they're currently considering majoring in bioengineering. From your perspective, is bioengineering a good choice for someone planning to transfer from community college and eventually apply to medical school? Are there any unique advantages or challenges with this path?
Again, it's all what are you going to tell, what story you're going to tell with it. So how are you going to integrate bioengineering into what you want to do in medicine? That's the most important piece. That has to be meaningful to you.
Another person said, since many applicants have strong academics and clinical exposure, what qualities or experiences tend to make personal statements stand out to admissions committees?
I don't think there's any one particular formula because again, we're trying to bring together people who have different perspectives. And so we have, when we talk about diversity at UC Davis School of Medicine, we have people who have families, children. Our youngest student was 19. Our oldest student was, I think, 58. So we want people from all different walks of life. We've had Navy SEALs, people who were in the National Guard, lots of different types of people, because again, everyone brings different perspectives. that are going to solve complex problems in healthcare. So we need everybody's voice at the table. I think that's the most important piece is that's why I say you have to be you and authentically you, because if you try to be like everybody else, then you're not going to stand out. That's where people don't stand out. I'd rather see like someone who was a waitress or a classic pianist and did all of these things, or someone who, you know, even their parents are physicians and they saw their parents work in rural communities and they also want to do that, right? Like your story is your story. So don't try to have somebody else's story.
Thank you. Another thing that we have is, what does the interview process for UC Davis Medical School look like?
Sure. So we do the MMI, which is the multiple mini interview. So our interviews are blinded. So the people who are interviewing, they have not read your application. So it's expected and totally fine for you to talk about things from your application in those interview stations. Every interview station has a theme related to the AAMC pre-professional competency. So like service orientation, cultural competence, adaptability and resilience, those types of things. And we're just, again, trying to glean like, besides metrics, like what is your substance, right? Like how do you critically think through things? And so you basically rotate. It's all on Zoom. It's all virtual. You'll interview with 10 people and have 2 rest stations. And so you'll have 2 minutes to prepare by yourself for each prompt. You'll have 6 minutes to interact with whoever your interviewer is. And then you'll have 2 minutes of rest time after every single session. So it's like 10-minute blocks total.
Another question, this person says they are a bio major, but were not interested in med school until now, and
Mhm.
that they're transferring next fall to UC Davis. They're interested in forensic pathology. They're also asking, is it too late for me to start on the med track / focus?
But if you're bio major, that is the med track focus for what while you're in community college. The prereqs would be the same. So technically you're not behind. And so I always tell students too, if you're thinking anything in healthcare, if you just do bio, you can transition to pretty much anything.
Cool. Thank
So
you.
I think the questions people are asking is they think that you think like one major is sexier than the other.
I just said it wasn't. I said you could be an English major or history major. In my
I
presentation, I said it.
I know, but people still are asking,
I
well,
don't care.
if
So
I'm a
it's
if
not
I'm a
sexier.
if I'm a biomedical underwater
Yeah.
basket weaving engineering major, is that better
Nope.
than a bio major? It's like,
So it's not about what's sexy academically or like showcasing your major itself is not the thing that's sexy. What's sexy is, can you do medical school? So we're looking at the prereqs and how you did. You have to do the prereqs anyway, right? So a lot of people, again, are science majors because that does help you prepare for higher level coursework in science. So that is the advantage of being a science major. There's no advantage of being a science major in that sense, like from how the admissions committee looks at it. We're looking like, what did you get on the MCAT and what can you do medical school, essentially? So again, it's like if science is something that's super easy for you, and again, I've had like students who were college athletes, football players, and they did something else and then just did their prereqs afterwards, and science was easy for them, then that was no problem. So first we're trying to say, can you do medical school academically? Then we're looking at the rest of the stuff about you. Because I do reject people all the time that have 100% MCAT 4.0, but they don't have any other substance. They're not ready for medicine. So I hope that answers your question. There's no such thing as a sexy major.
I definitely agree. Thank you. Another question we have is, should we address any academic red flags or just let it be brought up as to not negatively bring attention to any part of the application?
As I said before, just explain it. Don't keep us guessing. Like, also don't make excuses. Like, if you need to be accountable for it, be accountable for it. And then say, well, when I got to my campus, I really didn't know how to seek help. And then once I got to, OChem 1, I knew how to like talk to my teachers. I was less shy, or I went to go to tutoring, or I started actually doing Anki cards, or whatever it is y'all do to study. I'm a psychologist. I'm not a science major. But whatever it is y'all do, you want to basically say, whatever wasn't working, I reassessed and found my groove and found what works for me. And that helped me be successful. Because what does that translate to? You know how to take feedback. You know how to reset when something goes wrong. You have perseverance. You didn't stop because you failed one class or got a C in one class. And again, you have resilience to move forward because this is your goal and you want medicine no matter what.
Another question is, I have transferred to UC Davis this fall from ACC. I have not taken physics yet. A counselor told me it might be better to take physics at my CC for medical school. Would you recommend this, or would it look better to take it in my fourth year for medical school admissions?
Doesn't matter. I think we just ask for recency of 5 years. We really don't care. We really don't care. Things that you want to take closer to medical schools like anatomy, physiology, micro, those are things that help you with first year of medical school, genetics, stuff like that. But the core prereqs, we don't care when you take them, as long as it's within 5 years. Again, our 5 years is recommended recency. Even if you graduated 10 years ago, we don't care, but some schools are very strict on the recency rules. So you want to make sure you understand the school's requirements.
Another question, what are the REACH and Rural Prime programs at UC Davis Medical School?
Sure. So we have a collection of community health scholars program. Reach and Rural Prime are one of those. ACE-PC is another one. Tribal Health Prime is another one. And the Teach MS program. Those are all community health scholars programs. So with those programs, basically you indicate interest on your secondary application. When you actually get an MD acceptance, your application is routed to that director and they review you for that specific program. And those programs do come with, additional scholarship funding, things like that, but they're very focused on certain communities. So Rural Prime is focused on the Northern Rural region. We also have a new partnership with UC Santa Cruz that's going to be starting for the Rural Coast. We have the REACH program is focused on the Northern Central Valley. Teach MS is focused on urban underserved. ACE-PC is like, you want to do primary care. It's a 3-year accelerated program. So with all of these programs, you get supplemental curriculum, you get clinical opportunities in those communities, but to be competitive for those programs, you have to have experience working with these populations. Like that's the key, is you have to either be from there or have extensive experience working with these communities.
Okay. Another question, this one says, like, if I transferred to Berkeley and didn't really know how the grade deflation worked, ended up dropping classes because I thought I would fail, do I literally just tell them what happened, that I was unaware of the grading standards difference at community college versus the four-year university?
You can start there. So you have W's on your transcripts because you thought I wasn't going to do well. And so you drop them to retake them. So again, I would explain like I wasn't aware of how this worked, but you definitely want to have something that's a little more accountable. That is something I would work with an advisor to make sure you explain that thoroughly and that it makes sense and it's going to read well. Because again, we're not looking for perfect applicants with 4.0s and 100% MCAT. That's great if you have that, but what else do you have? You want to have strong activities. You want to care about a certain community. You want to have experience working with different populations. Like those are the things that are important aside from the grades.
The only thing that I would also add is that if you're going into this process and are, if you've never failed or afraid of failing, then you're going to fail at this and you're going to do things that are error, not on purpose, but just happens. And so, you have to you know, get accustomed to, get yourself back up again and do it or fix errors. So somebody says, I got a D in a class. Well, why did you get a D in the class?
Mm-hmm.
Were you taking, 45 units and working 44 hours a week and were the president of 6 clubs and you were doing all these different things? So that's probably you need to cut back on those. If you have a learning disability, address it. If you are struggling with one, and so basically, do that and, fix it,
Yeah.
address it.
Yes, correct.
Because it's not going to go away. It's not going to magically disappear.
And you don't want to fall apart every time you fail because guess what? Medicine, you're going to feel like you might lose a patient. That's a real thing. You might do the wrong thing. So being able to not be completely devastated, to be able to regroup, reassess, and learn from something is essential. And again, that's why we want you to have the experiences. It's not a checkbox. This is like actually how you're growing resiliency and developing as a professional.
Okay. Another person says, is it too late to apply for this cycle in mid-September, given that this is their best attempt?
So it's not too late for Davis because we're slow. I always tell everyone, don't freak out. We actually send secondaries all the way till January 31st, and we do interviews all the way till the first week in April. So we're like really late because we actually last year I got 8,214 applications and we looked at 8,214 applications. So for Davis, it is not too late. Now, I will say, again, we have like a 1.8% matriculation rate too, because we have so many applicants. So in a general sense, yeah, it's kind of late to apply. I always tell people you're kind of starting to get too late when you get to like early July, mid-July. It's kind of starting to get late to be competitive for a lot of schools, but it's not that, but our application is not due till October 1st. So for Davis, you would definitely have a fair shot. But again, percentage-wise, it would be challenging.
Then this one says, I'm doing an informal postbac at CC and I want to get into research, but I don't know where to start. Do you have any resources or recs for doing research well in CC, especially as a postbac?
Yeah, it's harder when it's a postbac because they're going to give preference to, their current students. If you are, so for postbacks, I would say definitely, and I know Jobin talked about there's other workshops, videos on here, like actually getting in a program probably would be a good, like a pathway program or a research internship would probably be good. Unless, again, or reaching back out to your undergraduate professors to see if they know of any opportunities available. Again, you have to network because you have to use your connections. The other thing is a lot of these career fairs and health career fairs will have advertisements for research programs, research internships, and opportunities. So those are also a good place to connect with people and see like what are the pathway programs, because it's not like there are websites with like a lot listed, but there's always like these one-off programs that like departments are doing, things like that. And you got to just know people because it's kind of messy.
Yeah, and I think if you have a bachelor's degree, there's a lot of like programs that do clinical research, public health research. There's like the Department of Public Health that hire people, and the only thing they require you is to like be able to, use statistics and other stuff. So there's a lot of opportunities out there. I know that the Department of Public Health for California hires a lot of like students and new grads to do public health research. And there's not a lot of like requirements. Now, obviously, if you want to do bench research, you probably need to have some sort of experience. But just to start out, you just need to get into one place, and you're gonna have to apply to more than one place as well too.
Another question you had mentioned earlier about the different prime programs. This person is asking about more information about the prime pathways during medical school.
Like what kind of information?
Um,
I
they
think I
don't
gave it
say,
all to you.
um, I guess it doesn't say exactly which one. Maybe just generalize, just like what the prime program is in general, not for like the specific one.
Yeah, so it stands for programs in medical education, and they're funded by our Office of the President, essentially. And again, they are so many UC medical schools have prime programs, and we actually do like a big conference every year too to bring all of the students and the faculty that work with prime programs together. But they're all focused on healthcare workforce needs of California specifically.
Yeah, and we'll have Dr. McRae in a couple of months.
Oh
You
yeah,
could ask her.
yep, she would be the best resource for sure.
That's good. Okay. Next person. They're saying, I'm an upcoming freshman in UC Davis with major in human biology. How do I know my requirements, my goals to get to med school?
So again, if you're at UC Davis, you need to head directly over to Health Professions Advising Office and see Manisha and Brielle and the team there. They are excellent. They know what they're talking about. I often come talk to their students as well. But Health Professions Advising, or if you have, for other people not at Davis, any Health Professions Advising Office or pre-med clubs, you need to get engaged with people who are like-minded. And that's where medical schools go to provide the resources. We're invited to speak. So that's where you're going to be able to tap into other opportunities like internships, research, hear from schools, and really hone down on, okay, what are these different schools looking for? What's the difference between a DO school and an MD school? Well, what happens if I go to an out-of-state medical school? That's where you can really get exposure to all these various questions that you have.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Another question we have, how valuable are non-clinical volunteer hours compared to clinical volunteer work experience? How many would a dean of admissions expect to see?
Yeah, so again, quality or quantity. So we're looking at what did you do and what did you learn from it? Like if you have 1,000 hours in whatever, but you didn't get anything out of it, that doesn't mean anything to me. It's like, oh, I really learned about this different like culture, or I learned about different healthcare practices and holistic care, or I learned, whatever, like about different family dynamics. Like you need to get something out of it that's more important than like having like, oh, I did this research thing at this prestigious university. Okay, well, did you get something out of it that's going to help you take care of patients?
Another person says, what do you recommend for those of us who are career changers and need to do GPA repair? Also, do you have to retake courses that you did not get A's for in our previous major to show that you're improving and on an upward trend?
Yeah, and that's what people typically do like a post-bac for. So I always recommend formal post-bacs if you can afford it, because I think you benefit from like cohort, mentorship, support, and like directionality. If you can't, then that's okay too. But you really want to try your best to, if you're doing an academic enhancer specifically, to take upper division science units. So again, people do that like on their own through CCE. If you're a career changer and you're just needing prereqs, you can do that at community college, doesn't matter. But if you're really trying to, you shouldn't retake the courses. You should be taking upper division, more difficult courses. Again, the genetics, the different, upper division bio classes, bioinformatics, things like that.
Another person's asking, how are DIY postbacks SMPs viewed if you struggled after transferring?
So they're not viewed any differently. Like if you do a DIY or SMP postbac, and for those who don't know what SMP is, it's a special master's program. So they do count towards graduate level GPAs, but they because they're like a postbac, they are taken into account very heavily, right? So if you do a DIY postbac or a special master's program SMP, or even a regular postbac, you are expected to get a 3.7 and above, like period. Like that is the job of that program, is to showcase your academic rigor. So what I have sometimes is, number one, you sometimes need to save up to be in those spaces. When you're doing those things, this is like showing whoever I was before, that's not me anymore. This is who I am. When I focus, I have support, da da da, right? So what I don't want to see is whatever decision you make regarding formal postbacks, special master's program, or a DIY postbac, you should not be working, or you should really minimize your work. Because what you don't want to do is get more units and get B's and C's, and now it's not helping you do what you need to do. Now you have so many units, you can barely move your GPA, and now you have recent coursework that are not A's, that are simply not A's. And that is going to raise some concerns. That's going to raise some concerns with the admissions committee. So if you are going to do any of those options, make sure you have saved or you have family support and you are ready to focus on just that, because getting A's is actually really essential to showcasing your ability for academic rigor, especially if you're an academic enhancer.
Another question we have, this person's currently in their application cycle, and UC Davis is their top choice. For applicants who are not from the Northern or Central California area, how would you recommend we demonstrate our interest and commitment to Davis and the surrounding region, especially before receiving a secondary?
Yeah, so you don't have to be from NorCal. We just get a lower amount of applicants from NorCal, and there's a huge physician shortage in the NorCal area. But honestly, who ends up matriculating is like 50% NorCal, 50% SoCal. So we want to see that you're committed to some community that needs you, right? Some area of physician shortage, that you have experience working with different types of folks. That's really important. So if you have ties to NorCal, that is great. We do ask a question specific about that, and that's just because we so desperately need physicians in the northern region of California. But in a general sense, we're focused on Californians. Now, out-of-state folks is who have trouble in our process. We really only accept maybe up to 5 per year out of state, and you have to have either ties or literally won a Nobel Peace Prize. So it's the out-of-state folks who actually really have a very slim chance, unless they're incredibly like unique or have strong ties.
Cool. Thank you. Another person, would you happen to know if there are any programs similar to Avenue M for students outside Northern California, since they say that they're from the Bay Area and don't believe their school's on the eligible list?
For other programs that are outside of Northern California?
Yeah, it's similar to
Oh
Avenue.
yeah, look at medical schools and their pathway program websites, because like I said, sometimes they're not all in one place. So Check AAMC does have a pathway website. There's lots of resources throughout PreMedCC. I know that Joanne's been like collecting all these resources, so look there too. But I know most medical schools have pathway programs. So if you're in the Bay Area, Stanford, UCSF, they have pathway programs. Even some of the community colleges and like East Bay and stuff have pre-med programs. So like I said, they're just hard to dig out because they're not always like, you can just Google like pre-med programs in the Bay Area. So that's why I say getting on those resource lists, like for PreMedCC, Me Mentor, all of the MAPS groups, all of those, get on all their listservs. Just get on all of them. Get those emails so you'll know when things are happening, because that's where medical schools share their programs. Like, oh, please share this with your network, right? Mesa, all of those things. So get involved with everything science related, health related on your campus. And in the community, so that way you can be getting the notifications of opportunities that come your way.
Thank you. And also, let me know. We want to respect your time too, so I'm gonna
Yeah.
keep giving. Okay, cool.
Keep going. Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. Another question we have is, does UC Davis consider being a veteran as a competitive advantage, or is it similar in application competitiveness to, say, clinical experience as a medical assistant for a few years?
It's not similar, it's different, but it is. So again, it's a unique thing that person would bring, right? Their experience as a veteran, like that, technically like a career change, or even if they were a medic, they have healthcare experience already. So those things are valuable to us, right? That is the experience, but it's not, we're talking about apples and oranges here. That's why I say your application is your application. Don't worry about what other people are doing. Put your best application forward, because a medical assistant on their application, that might make them really shine because of who they worked with and what they did. But you're a different story if you're a veteran and you did, tell us what your story is. That's what we're trying to understand.
Yeah, and we had like 9 veteran students last November that talk about their experience and how they gauge their military experience in the application process.
Mhm.
So check that out. There was like 9 of them, and a lot of them left their contacts on,
Mhm.
so you could check that out.
Thank you. Another question. Will you say that the study methods and class organizations are significantly different in medical school compared to undergraduate?
Yes, I would say that. 100% yes. When you have go back and look at other webinars for medical students, or I know there are a bunch coming up, but the whole fire hosting is a real thing. So this is why I say get your study habits together, get your coping skills together, your wellness skills together, because medical school is a different beast. Hard things are hard. If it was easy, everyone would do it. So you do need to prepare yourself, but it is doable. I build like over 100 doctors every single year. It is doable, but it is definitely takes some determination, focus, and passion. This is why I say you have to love it even when you hate it.
Thank you. Another question. If we have gotten a D in a BCPM course and remove it from the GPA calculation through academic renewal, I did not retake the course, but instead took a different course for GE completion. How would that affect our application? How would admissions see that remark?
Yep. So you still have to put it on your AMCAS application as a D. There's no academic renewal in medical school applications. So even if you retook, let's say you got an F and you retook it, you're putting both the retake grade and you're putting the F. And those are calculated into your GPA.
This is another general question from the chat. What kind of leadership does med school look for, or admissions look for?
So there's nothing we're specifically looking for. We're looking at what you did in assessing how that made you a leader and how that created those attributes in you. So a leader could be a captain on a sports team. A leader could be a supervisor in a clinical team. A leader could be anything. A leader could be like you led your pre-med health club. You're the president. You organized a vaccine clinic. So again,
Supervisor at Starbucks.
supervisor at Starbucks. So a leader could mean anything. What did you get out of it? That's what we want to understand. Like, what assumptions could we come to understanding what your role was, what you did, and how you led?
Okay. Another question is, this person says that they remember at the beginning of the presentation, you mentioned that the pre-med students typically need to complete a series of calculus courses. I just want to clarify, I have already taken my bachelor's degree. I've already finished my bachelor's degree, and I'm currently working on my medical school prerequisites. I'm in my second to last semester, and as long as I complete 1 year of each organic chemistry, general chemistry, physics, and biological sciences, I shouldn't need the full calculus series, correct?
Yeah, that's what you need for a transfer from a California community college to any school for a science major. But make sure the schools you're applying to, you just double check the prereqs that they have. Because again, what we have are like the general ones, because we know most people are going to complete those anyway. But there might be some unique schools out there that do require calc. But so you want to just make sure you just double check your roster of applicants, and you can do that by going to the MSAR. You can do that by going directly to that medical school's website.
Another question, how many non-traditional older post-bac students are you seeing in these cohorts? What resources do you offer for students? Yeah.
How many? Okay, those are two different questions. How
Ooh.
many post-backs?
Mhm.
So I don't know the exact number of post-backs, but 26% of our incoming class was in a pathway program that includes, and that is also inclusive of post-bac students, 26%, which is pretty high. What resources do we offer just students in general?
They originally said like a mixture between non-traditionals, older
Oh,
applicants and post-bac students all together.
yeah. So
So
as
the demographic that we posted it in there. It's 21 to 41. Average is 27. So
our average student is actually non-traditional. So
yeah.
because so if you're a quote unquote traditional student, right, you're 21 to 23 when you get to medical school, but our average is much older. That doesn't mean, right, that's not the range, but that is the average. So we do have everything, we have resources in place, but that it's available to all students, right? But there's variety, right, with counseling, wellness, academic support, things like that. And then all of our executive leadership is available to students. So like students have my cell phone number, they have the student affairs cell phone number, the student affairs dean's cell phone number, so that we're very accessible to our students. But in a general sense, really, it's the community. That's the thing I love most about UC Davis is we have incredible students who care for each other. It's like once you're in your family, it's like we're all getting to that stage. We're all getting to that doctor level. And I think that's where the best support is for our students is like you can find your people at our school because there's just so many different types of people there.
Right. Another question. This is going back to majors again. Do you think it is more of an advantage or disadvantage to major in engineering or computer science rather than biology due to the intense workload? I enjoy technology and may want to integrate it into my story or incorporate technology to medicine.
Yeah, if that's your story, then write that. Talk about how you want to be innovative with technology and medicine. We have students do like projects on telemed, and now with AI really like bustling and trying to make clinical work more efficient. Like, how are we going to keep the ethics and integrity in the clinical setting? So there's lots of things you can do with technology and AI. Just what do you want to do? Tell us. And that is going to probably be a unique thing and that everyone's really interested in right now.
And then this one's another major question. It says, if you're double majoring in biology and public health, does that make you look indecisive to med schools?
No, because they're very closely related. We actually have a lot of students who go do a master's in public health and then apply to medical school. So they're definitely hand in hand, but again, it depends on your story. Like, how are you going to pull it together and what you want to do in medicine?
Okay. And then this
All
person,
healthcare is public.
Exactly.
another person says, you mentioned athletes who did their prereqs after. Could you expand more on what you mean by this?
Yeah, so like if they played like college football or basketball and they just really didn't have time for a science intense course load because being a college athlete is a huge commitment, a huge commitment. So a lot of them will do either a post-bac or DIY post-bac, or they'll do it, they'll extend their graduation and graduate in
Or
5 years and do it at the end, the tail end of their college career.
Another one is the tell me about yourself question supposed to be answered in like a way that emphasizes medicine or more informal and just about your gen life in general?
So when it's like any other job interview, you should talk about things that people can relate to in your first one or two sentences. So I would say, if someone were like, tell me where, I would say, well, my name is Charlene. Like, I would talk about some identity stuff, like my culture. I identify as Black and Vietnamese. I'm from Stockton, California, and then I would go into all of my why I'm interested in the job, or my accolades, or my proudest accomplishment. Right. So it's like you want to give some things for people to like know something about you personal, but not too personal. But maybe something that maybe they wouldn't know right away. And then you want to go into like why we're here, right? If you're in a medical school interview, I want to know something about like what populations you want to care for. I have a passion for XYZ community. I have a passion for the Central Valley because I'm from Sacramento. That's why I mean from Stockton. That's why I participate in the Stockton Health Empowerment Conference every year. The Central Valley is actually one of the 10 most underserved communities in the country. So I know they need doctors. I know they need mental health providers there, right? So I would talk about like, what do I know? Because I'm going to showcase how passionate I am about the community I say I care about because I know about them and I've been doing things to spend time with them to develop professionally into someone who can care for them.
Another one we have is my goal was to go into a field such as radiology or pathology, but do you believe these fields will exist by the time I'm a doctor? They're saying likely 10 plus years from now, or do you believe artificial intelligence would have replaced those roles by that time?
Yeah, as a psychologist, that's not my jurisdiction. I really don't know the answer to that. I know a lot of radiologists and pathologists, so I'm happy to ask that question to them. If you want to shoot me an email, I'll find out for you. But I mean, quite possibly, I think there are some things maybe, but there are just some things that only humans can do. And I think healthcare in a general sense, is something that you can't outsource.
So, so I would just say this to anybody that's thinking about this. When you go to the hospital, when you go to a lab, when they draw your blood, it gets put into a machine, the machine spits it out, all these different things, but a human still has to validate it, and a physician signs it. So, unless they're willing to change, uh, even though like most doctors read X-rays, like in the ER, we look at ER physicians look at X-rays. A radiologist still has to go and look at it because that radiologist is a lot better than that ER doctor and could see the fine tune detail. So, is AI going to make radiology faster? Yes, but it's not going to replace unless they're willing to change the laws of medicine and let machines,
Certainly hope not.
but and if that's the case, then probably not want to go to that.
All right. If that's the case, we got bigger problems.
Yeah.
So we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Another question, this one's about applications. What is a good way applicants can show grit and resilience on application, more specifically?
Yeah, by explaining setbacks thoughtfully, what you learned from it, how you access resources, how you've kept on the same path, even though you've had setbacks.
Okay. Another question, they're saying I'm a pre-med student, highly interested in caring for Latinx communities, and this is seen through my activities, and is discussing this throughout my application, and this being one of the reasons I'm passionate about medicine. Is this
Mhm.
considered a bias? In other words, how is this viewed by an admission committee?
Yeah, I don't think considered a bias to say you want to focus on a certain community and why? Because I identify with them, they're marginalized. Our job as physicians, though, is to take care of everybody. So you do want to emphasize, like, I want to take care of all patients, right? Because when I was a clinical social worker, when I first started at UC Davis, I had to take care of people that really didn't want to see me. And so again, there's some professional policy things that happen at that time, but my job is still to take care of everybody, even people who may not like me for whatever reason. So as providers, our job is to take care of everyone, but you can definitely say, I definitely have a passion for XYZ community because I identify with it, or I've been integrated in that community and I know how underserved they are or marginalized or how badly they need healthcare. Because at the end of the day, that's a statistic, and it's not my fault or your fault why certain populations fall into high health disparity statistics, right? So it's like we want to care for the people who need us the most, and this is the people who need me the most.
And I'm just going to throw this out there. If you have a passion for Latinx community, there's hundreds of things you could do to help them, like going to a clinic and being a translator, um, teaching immigration classes, doing translation at court systems, doing CASA. There's hundreds of things you could do. It's kind of like saying people say, I want to be a cancer researcher, find a cure for cancer, and on medical school application, they've never done cancer research. And it's
Right.
like,
That's this lineup. The math won't math on that one.
yeah, it's like, or saying like, I want to, I don't know, like I want to win, in 2028, I want to win the marathon for the Olympics, but I've never ran a
I'm not trained.
marathon. Yeah, so it's like, it's
Precisely.
so like you guys like there's a lot of things you could do and there's a lot of ways you could demonstrate it. It's not it's just, you know, leadership is not something that it's not an innate ability. It's by getting up and doing it and failing and keep doing it again.
Another question, this is a post-bac question. Can recent upper division elective sciences courses in a formal post-bac program compensate for older 5+ year or 5+ core sciences? I know
Yes.
you mentioned recommended within 5 years. Would other schools care?
No. Can you do medical school?
And then another post-bac questions are unofficial post-bac programs where a student builds their own or curriculum valued similarly to official post-bac programs for an academic enhancer.
Valued similarly, yes, depending on what you're taking. So this is why good advising is very important. Because again, if you're an academic enhancer versus a career changer, those are two different things. It's like what first you have to assess what do you need, and then you need to do it, and then you need to do well. You need to get A's basically. So again, if you showcase those things in combination with a good MCAT score, there would be no concern for sure. But I think when we know that when you do, we really trust post-bac programs because you're getting more than just academic coursework, you're getting mentorship, professional development, blah, 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 blah. So I'm not saying go do a formal post-bac program for that reason, but what I'm just saying is how we look at it, we understand what you're getting here versus what you're getting here. So assess what you need first, and then that's how you're going to decide what you're going to do.
This person says they're in biomedical engineering and last semester they took Bio 1 and got a C, but in other courses like Chem, Gen Chem, or Ergo, Calculus, they got A's. Should I retake it to get a high GPA or should I just let it slide?
Wait,
Some places won't let you retake a C. So
yeah,
so take the second, third, following sequence and do well.
there you go.
Yeah, you can't change the past. You can only change the future.
There you go. Let's put on a t-shirt, Jobin.
Somebody wants to know, do you recommend taking, it's called a CLEP, which is the college level examination, like take an exam and skip like regular chemistry?
No.
Okay.
That was easy. I mean, if you did do it, it doesn't hurt you. We accept it. But again, those or people who've done like AP, but I don't think you need to strive for it. Just take the class because you're going to need it. You're going to need this information. But like if chem's easy for you, you can take it and pass it, then go for it,
So this is also the same college athlete asking, that with all my commitments to sports, what type of extracurricular activities can it fit in my tight schedule? I don't know how humanly possible. If you're an athlete, you've got
But
games, you got practice, you got video, you got lifting, you got rehab, you got
eating, certain
eating, you
things,
got to
yeah.
do all these different things. Like it's, there's a lot of things you could do as leadership as an athlete. I know like when I worked at Davis, some of the athletes would do this. I think they call it like second chance prom. They basically did a prom for a lot of the kids that were in the pediatric hospital that couldn't, so there was like a dance and there was a bunch of football players and soccer players. There's hundreds of things you could do. There's a lot of things that you could do as an athlete, you're a leader in your community. So,
Yeah. And I would
um,
say for athletes too, and this is for anybody, don't be in a rush. Don't be in a rush. First of all, don't work so hard that you don't enjoy college. Because, honey, if you're going into medicine, guess what? You're going to be in school for a very long time. This is a lifelong learning profession. So do well, but also enjoy yourself. Have a life. It's okay to do your prereqs after you graduate or towards the tail end, whatever. Like, don't just pack everything so hard so you have and then now you're going to be in medical school for 4 years and then residency for like 3 to 9 years, depending on your specialty. So also take some time to enjoy your college experience. There will be time, like it's never going to be too late. Like I said, my oldest student is 55 or 58. So it's like enjoy college and then you can get your experience in your enrichment year. Like go do AmeriCorps, go, do a mission trip or something like that. Like go do clinical work then, go do your research then. So definitely you don't have to be on this trajectory where it's like as soon as I'm 22, I have to be into medical school. So create a timeline for yourself that works for you. Don't worry about what other people are doing.
Another one they have is I'm a senior at UCR and wanted to ask whether I should take a post-bac or an SMP. I have a 3.49 GPA and haven't taken my MCAT. I have over 1,000 hours in my extracurriculars. If you can give me a real response, that would be helpful.
I can give you a real response.
I don't know. Sorry, general. It was just, yeah, I don't know. General. It says general response. Sorry.
What's the question though? I heard like the stats, but
Yeah, they're asking whether they should take a post-bac or an SMP or not, based on what their
All
since
your
it's
like are your activities based on all the
yeah.
activities you have done? So again, what do you need? What do you need the postback for? Is it grades? Is it your career changer? So the activities are great if your activities are done and you're doing a postback, let's say for academic enhancement, it's great because then your activities are done, you can apply right at a postback. But it just depends on like what do you need. So you need to talk to an advisor to say, I want to
Yeah,
apply.
UCR. I mean, Dr. Struggs, the entire like pre-health advising program at UCR. I think is Charles Struggs. I think it is. Go
Yeah.
talk to him. He's a
He's at the Health
great,
Professions
yeah,
Advising Council.
advising. Yeah, he
Mhm.
emails us all the time. Go talk to him. He's very knowledgeable. He also rubs elbows with the medical school people, and so he could look at your transcript and your resume and all that stuff and give you a really, educated response.
Another one is how can you recommend taking advantage of post-bac programs that have online classes in order for mentorship, letters of rec, and advisorship?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, they're saying what do you recommend taking advantage of during post-bac programs that have online classes in order for to get mentorship, letters of rec, and advisorship?
Well, yeah, you need to make a personal connection. So you need to be, if it's online completely, then you need to be like scheduling meetings with people to meet with them regularly. Like, hey, can you be my mentor? Can I meet with you monthly or whatever, making it well known who you are. But you need to make sure whatever program that is, you're going to get what you need out of that program because it's not just about getting the grades. Are you going to be prepared for medical school too?
And just be careful. Some of those online
Yeah,
programs are not
it's given
like,
very for profit,
yeah,
not for
they're
your benefit.
they're not created equal as taking a class,
Well, and it's
So
not going to
just be
prepare you for
careful.
medical school. It's not going to prepare you for medical school. Postbac is the closest thing to medical school that is not medical school.
Yeah, so just be careful. Do you want to ask the next? So the next question is this person wants they've already completed a lot of their requirements for AST in psychology, but they want to do an AST in biology. Um, and they want to know if they should do it or not. And
Mm. Well, depends on what school you're transferring to and what major you're going to transfer into. Because the AST in psychology, that means you haven't done, if you want to do bio, then that means you're changing your science, you're going from stats to calc. You need to
you
be,
haven't taken bio, you haven't taken
you
no
haven't taken
chem, you
anything.
have GChem,
That's why I said
physics.
it's important to figure out what do you want to transfer, where do you want to transfer to, and what do you want to transfer in. So, like for instance, UC Davis has a psychology BA program and a psychology BS program. So the psychology BS program is more science focused. So you are going to be taking the bio and all that other stuff like that with psych courses. So you need to decide where you're going to go and what you're going to do, and then you work with your counselor to create a plan.
Okay. The last question in the chat that we have, as of right now at least, they're saying, as someone who completed medical school successfully, do you feel like you were able to live while being in such rigorous environment? I'm just concerned about burning out in medical school.
Yeah, burnout's a real thing. So I'm a psychologist. I am not an MD. I'm a PsyD. So luckily I haven't had that experience, but I have built quite a few doctors in the last 15 years. So I do think the burnout thing is real. And that's why I'm saying come into medical school with your coping. Come into medical school with the tools. Come into medical schools recognizing when you have stress and how do you deal with it. It is an art that you do have to practice. So yeah, burnout is real. Hard things are hard. And that's why I said, if it was easy, everyone would do it. So prepare yourself, mind, body, and soul before you get to medical school, because you're going to need that. And also, you need your community, your family, your support system, your peers. You're going to need everybody. So make sure that you are just staying humble, you're persevering, you're working hard, and then you'll end up on the other side and it'll be fine. But that's why I said, don't do medicine because your parents want you to. You have to love it even when you hate it. That is the most important thing. Because then when you're burnt out, you still have a why. If you hate it and you just hate it and you don't love it, then you're not going to make it because it's not something you want to do.
This person's asking, what is the benefit of taking Prime or Reach programs? They want to apply to Reach because their hometown is from Modesto, but they haven't thought about taking a master's degree before. So, they're just thinking about like, what advice can you give for that?
Um, so they're from the Central Valley, but they're not from the Northern Central Valley. Was that the question?
they were saying they were asking just like what the benefit of either Prime or Reach is because they're
Yeah.
interested in Reach, but the thing is he just never thought of taking a master's degree before.
Yeah, I don't think you necessarily need a master's degree, but the purpose is really for you to get clinical experience within those communities, essentially. So that's you get supplemental curriculum, you get to live in that community in third year. So that's kind of the advantages you're going to get hands-on experiences with specifically working with that community.
All right. Well, I think that's it. I don't think we have any other questions. We could keep you here till 10 o'clock at night. I'm sure
I
there'll
would
be more
love to be here
questions.
till 10 o'clock on a Friday night,
But
however.
yeah, um, you have a sick child, so
Yeah,
we'll let you go. Um, thank you again. Great seeing you.
happy to be
Please
here.
say hi to Dr. Henderson for me.
Of
He was
course.
here a couple of months ago, and I saw him at a concert too. So, anyways,
Yes, he loves his rock.
yeah, I saw him. I couldn't go and say hi to him, but I saw him like passing. I was taking care of a patient. So, anyways, I hope you're doing well. I hope your child
Thank
improves.
you. Thank you, Jobin. Thank you, Marco. Thank you so much, PreMedCC, for having me once again. I always enjoy my time. Great questions, everyone. And just stay strong and keep on the track. Keep on the track. You all got it. And remember, you got to be able to love it even when you hate it. Don't forget that part. Okay. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend.